going by your analysis
Yes.
now,
Yes.
the challenges of insecurity vary from one state to another now.
Yes.
So if you're going to devolve the police, decentralize the police to each state now, what about the states that are not really confronting much insecurity challenge now? That means that they would be having a luxury of a security apparatus.
I don't know that the 36 states and Abuja, that there is anyone that doesn't have a major security challenge.
But it varies.
Certainly it does. We, in the northeast, and now unfortunately creeping into north central, is the specter of terrorism. Then you come to the southeast, the kidnapping is the equivalent of terrorism in the northeast. And then perhaps in areas of the south like in the Cross River, we don't read too much about them as far as crime is concerned. But excuse me, let us be prepared for the future. We may not have a bad situation now, but the truth is that as things go on, when I was a young boy, the fear of crime, the major crime was highway robbers. We don't hear of highway robbers again. Now we hear of armed robbers. Highway robbers. Because invariably, if you drove at night, Oyenusi and the rest of such people will stop you on the road and rob you after the Civil War. Then, right now, we don't have highway robbers operating only at night. They operate day and night, sometimes a kilometer away from a checkpoint. Okay? And then you go on and on. Right now, they come even to your house. So crime evolves, particularly with civilization, science, and technology. And I'm afraid with the socio-economic situation of impoverishment or poverty.
Well, we'll tie that.
So,
just allow me to come in,
yes,
so that you can tie this to what we. Because looking at all of this, what comes to mind is the practicability of it all. You know, some will say it's all theories. And I have to give you a quote here from the president when he went to Ilorin, President Jonathan. Quote, he said, state police may be theoretically good, but looking at our political environment, it could be abused to the detriment of the country. So yeah, I'm quite sure he must have viewed all of this. The Council of State must have met for him to go public to say his own opinion on this same matter.
You see, we mustn't, you see, the difference, you see.
Because in any case, you just told us about Hisbah and some other people.
Yes,
even though the religion of Islam doesn't make you to force anyone to be part of that particular religion. They go around arresting people not observing the Ramadan fast.
Now, there is no perfect situation. There is no question that decentralizing the police has its justified fears. There are fears. No argument with that. But you have to weigh both in the balance. Are we likely to have more efficient curtailing of breakdown of law and order if we decentralize the police in such a way that the states will be running their own force, and the DPO in XY village is in fact from that village? And in fact, he doesn't need to be told about the criminals in his village and those who have a tendency to crime. He doesn't need to be told about it. The man on the street can identify with the police because the police are his people. The advantage far outweighs the fears. The only thing we need to do, like I said earlier, is to structure into the decentralized police force now, state police, structure into it some checks and balances.
Now let's
which I've already explained, an NJC equivalent for the police, which effectively curtails.
Should that come from the federal police, for instance? Should that come from the state, the federal police?
Definitely, like the chairman of the NJC is the Chief Justice of Nigeria. And we must be frank, NJC is actually, like I said earlier, an anti-federal arrangement. But it is necessary for the beginning of the creation of state police. To be essential to have something like that. You have the IG of police, the Inspector General of Police, as the chairman of the NPC, which is what the Constitution actually says already. But then we need to enlarge the scope of the NPC.
Now let's just quickly look at this. It's very important we set the record straight on the position of the mainly the northern governors who are not in favor of the state police. What they are saying doesn't really seem as if they are outrightly in rejection of the position of the state police. What they are saying is that the state governor should have more control of the CPs, the commissioner of police. Would that make any difference?
Okay, yes, I get the point. They're saying, no, let's not create state police. Let's still have the federal police, but let there be devolution of powers away from the IG of police. Give more powers to the federal, the governors of the states, so that they can actually be in more control of their commissioners and the police in their respective states. It is going to be like scratching the surface. The problem is more fundamental than giving the governors more control. Let us look at the other angle, the sociological angle of having a police officer from Enugu State working in Gombe State. He is a superintendent of police, ASP. He is a constable, a sergeant, inspector, and you send him to a place where he does not have a cultural understanding of the people, no matter how long he stays there. He doesn't speak the language, and if he tries to speak the language, he speaks it with an accent. The people can't buy into him. They can't buy into the uniform he represents. So it's not about giving the governor more power over the police. It is about having a police at the federal level, an FBI, if you like, which handles a category of crimes, the felonies, major crimes, kidnapping, and terrorism. The police is freed up at the federal to narrow their expertise on certain very serious offenses. Then the more minor offenses, if you like, the man in the state, the man who comes from the state. I'll give you a story. I went to my village at some time, and I mentioned somewhere I wanted to go to, and my uncle, a retired Air Force officer, said to me, I don't think you should go there, you know, those people are criminals. Don't go there. The point in my story is, they know, the man in the village knows the criminals, but is he going to go to his DPO, who comes from the next door local government or the next door state, to advance that information? But if you have a homegrown police, the truth is that the man in charge, the people there simply identify. It's a sociological thing. They'll identify with the police, and they will be very much better able to pass information. I remember that police is efficient only according to the information they receive.
Now, bringing it back to being proactive.
Yes.
How proactive can the law get? Now, right now, we are amending the Constitution because of the problems on ground, right?
Yes.
And these problems are just surfacing. They have been there. In the next 10 years, we're going to be having another set of problems. There is no doubt. Now, as you know, you come across as a very proactive person. How proactive should we get now that we have a window? We're amending the Constitution. How can we tie this in and say, okay, in the next 20 years, maybe it won't be Boko Haram, maybe it will be something else way bigger. How proactive should we start to get? And you know, you can share that with us if you.
Yes, amendments of constitutions cannot take place every other year. And I assume that we have yearly attempted these amendments because of the fundamental problems of a constitution handed over by the military, that we the people did not really have any input. The process of amending a constitution must require some social engineering and high intellect. You got to be able to foresee, to think far ahead of what is and what might be ahead of time. And there's no question that the guys in the National Assembly need to avail themselves of the widest possible consultation Because wisdom does not reside in the National Assembly alone. They have the privilege of representing you and I.